In this video, we're going to be taking a trip from Paris to Milan on a train. Not just any train, we'll be taking the French TGV. I'm not exactly a train guy. This is flight formula, so I didn't really realize that France had some seriously fast trains. They're up there with some of the fastest trains on Earth. Why did France develop these fast trains? How does the TGV compare to other high-speed trains from around the world? Let's get into all of that and more. Alright, welcome back to another flight formula video. Or should I say train formula. We're catching a train today. I'm in Paris. We're going to Milan. Alright, snacks? Anyone? Let's see. I know nothing about trains. I'm not a train guy and I'm not going to pretend to be, so I'm going to keep this brief. So brief that we'll keep this whole train segment to under 2 minutes. I booked a first class ticket on this route. It was 59 euros. This was only 10 euros more than a standard ticket, so I thought, why not? First class is only marginally better than the standard class seats. They're slightly wider. You get 4 inches more of legroom, and the seats are laid out in a 1-2 configuration instead of 2x2. Both are way more comfortable than any economy or premium economy seats on a plane. In first class, the tray table is huge and the recline is nice, but not amazing. You could definitely nap here, but it's nowhere near close to a lie flat bed. There's no food or drinks included, but you can buy these at the cafe bar. I brought my own snacks for this one though. The toilets are toilets, they exist, they work, but they're not particularly spectacular. They've got Wi-Fi, but it's terrible. Speeds are incredibly slow, and it kept on cutting out completely. They do have this neat portal where you can supposedly stream movies. It wasn't working for me. And see where you are on a map. You get stats like the current speed. So, it was generally pretty comfortable, but I wouldn't recommend it on this route for one simple reason. The scheduled time for this trip, when all is well and good, is about 6.5 hours. The comparative flight is about 1.5 hours. Obviously, when you're flying, you've got to get to the airport well before your flight, blah, 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 blah. Flying is probably closer to 3 or 4 hours if we're comparing directly. If this was the case, I'd probably choose the train option. It's just honestly pretty relaxing and you just get to stare out at French countryside. But in August of 2023, there was a landslide in the southeast of France that led to the closure of the Fréjus, I think that's how you say it, railway. This is the main railway border crossing between France and Italy. So this journey is no longer just a train trip. It's now multimodal. The train stops in France near the border, everybody gets off, you get on buses, and then you get back on another train over the border in Italy. This adds roughly 2 hours to the trip, making it an 8.5 hour journey overall. If I was to do it again, I would just fly. Amazingly, this happened in August of 2023. I took this trip in the beginning of 2024, and as of July 2024, it's still not open, and they're not expecting it to be cleared or operational again until mid-2025. I'm not sure if this is Europe being slow with... I don't know. Anyway, if you're looking to get from Paris to Milan, probably just fly at this point. All right, I want to do a quick vibe check with you guys. I've got probably the world's most expensive tripod here and props. I've done some DIY. I just want to quickly talk about filming people in public. I generally don't try to film people in public. People end up in the background of some of these shots, but I'm not making them the center of the video. I'm not talking about them specifically, but I want to posit that there are some times when it might be okay to do this. Let's get into it. Of course, I've got a super inflated ego, so I've made myself the superhero looking one of the two. I'm over here with my iPhone filming people. And then over here, we've got our person doing the weird or creepy, strange thing. What I want to posit to you, and what I think we've kind of come to agree on as a society, and if you think about this as our creepy factor, if someone's doing something that's not that creepy or weird, so they're down here, but then I film them or someone films them doing it, then the person filming is very creepy. They're the weirdo. But if someone's doing something really weird or creepy and I film them, I'm not that weird. They're the weirdo for being weird. There's sort of some direct relation between level of creepy and if you're the person doing it or if you're the person filming it. And look, sometimes you get those videos where someone's doing something a little bit weird and then the person filming gets criticized a little bit because, you know, why are you filming this person? They're just going through something. You know, you get those sort of situations. Now, I just want to vibe check with you guys and I'm going to talk about something that happened on this train trip. I was sitting in my seat and diagonally across from me was this older French gentleman and his wife. I'm 99% sure he was French because he was reading a French newspaper when we got on board, and I was in a position that I could clearly see the newspaper, and I could see that it was all in French. And that's what I mean. I was sitting in this position where it's like, if he had a laptop open, I could clearly see what was on his screen. Obviously, I'm not sitting there just staring at what other people are doing for my whole train trips, but you quickly glance on when you get on the train, you're like, oh, he's reading a French newspaper, and then you go about looking at your phone. We get to about an hour and a half into the trip, and he's on his phone, and he's holding it up like, if I got my phone here, he's holding it up directly. He's not hiding it. It's not like down in his lap or anything. It's like, I could clearly see it without straining. And I realized that this guy is casually scrolling through adult film sites, I guess is how we're going to talk about this, and not the free ones. He was scrolling through the premium subscription ones. Just casually scrolling through, and then every now and again he would preview the videos, you know, where they've got the 30 or 60 second previews. I think the reason that I realized he was doing this was because one of them played with sound at the start. He like noticed and turned it down, but he didn't all of a sudden go and hide his phone. He just kept on going with the sound off. And I was just fascinated. He was doing this for like 45 minutes. Anyone walking past could clearly see what he was looking at. He wasn't trying to hide it at all. Even more miraculously, I saw the full funnel for these sort of websites because after 45 minutes of browsing and watching a bunch of previews, he got out his credit card and he subscribed to one of the sites. Am I the creep for filming, or is he the creep for doing it? Is he just being French? Am I being culturally insensitive here? Where are we on the seesaw? For me, I thought it was kind of weird and creepy and just strange, so I don't think it's that weird. But maybe we're not here, actually, and maybe it's closer to here, or maybe because I'm in France, it's literally here and I'm the creep. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. And this is what I mean by the world's most expensive tripod. It's a forklift. Before we completely move on from trains, or should I say before we let this train leave the station, I want to share with you a quick history of the TGV because, quite frankly, I found it really interesting. In the 1960s, the French National Railway Company, SNCF, started to experience decreases in passenger numbers on their traditional long-distance express rail services due to people opting for the newly available and significantly faster domestic flights on air and tear. In a response to this decrease in demand, and after seeing Japan build out their own high-speed Shinkansen railway network, SNCF, along with the French government, moved to develop their own high-speed rail network. Early train designs included a hovercraft-like air cushion vehicle. These would have been so cool, but after some testing, these proved to be uneconomic. And instead, SNCF moved forward with a traditional rolling stock design. Initial plans included the use of a gas turbine for propulsion. This, of course, was the 1960s. Oil was plentiful and cheap. The testing of the first gas turbine prototype almost exactly coincided with the Yom Kippur War in 1973 between Israel and a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria. This war kicked off the 1973 oil crisis, as many of the oil-producing Arab states implemented an oil embargo on the countries that supported Israel.
The oil-producing countries of the Arab world decided to use their oil as a political weapon. They will reduce oil production by 5% a month until the Israelis withdraw from occupied territories.
This caused more than a tripling of the price of oil globally, with the price per barrel going from $3 to, in some cases, up to $12 a barrel. In 1974, French Prime Minister Pierre Mesmer announced what would later become known as the Mesmer Plan, a hugely ambitious nuclear power program aimed at generating most of France's electricity from nuclear power.
Nuclear. It's pronounced nuclear.
Nuclear power allowed France to compensate for its lack of locally available energy resources by applying its strengths in heavy engineering. The situation was summarized rather neatly in the following slogan: "In France, we do not have oil, but we have ideas." For the TGV, this meant another pivot, as they switched from gas turbines to a more traditional electric-driven design. In 1976, after thoroughly testing this new and final electric design, SNCF ordered 87 high-speed electric trains from Alstom, a French multinational train manufacturing company. The first TGV service began in 1981 between Paris and Lyon. The network has expanded since, with services all over France and into neighboring countries, like Italy. Now, I did mention the Shinkansen there. It was the first high-speed rail service in the world and inspired the creation of the TGV. I happened to be in Japan last year and ended up catching the Shinkansen a few times. Look at that thing. Whoa. So here's a quick one from the archives. Here's the seat. They're actually pretty spacious. This is the second class, not the first class seat. We walked through it the other day, and it's laid out in 2-2, a 2-2 configuration. This one's laid out in a 2-3. You see, it's 2-3, whereas first class you got 2 and 2. But generally the legroom is humongous on both. So if you see here, we've got so much legroom, right? We've got legroom for days. I couldn't even, this is like, it's just humongous. Tray table comes down, handy, little storage, your phone or something. Yeah, oh yeah, there's also hanger if you've got a coat or something. There is little air vents under here that you probably can't really see. But they're blowing a little bit of air. It's really not much though. It's not like an airplane vent where you actually can feel it. So it's getting a little bit hot in here, but that's okay. But yeah, that's pretty much the seat. I guess let's check out the recline. I'm not going to recline onto someone, but I'll get a Akash. So you see, we got a pretty healthy amount of recline here. Is it comfortable? Comfortable? It's comfortable. All right. Fully reclined. You still have tons of legroom. Still nice and comfortable. Overall, pretty comfy seats, even in the economy second class cabin. It's really quiet in here. Like no one really talks or anything. Got a little sink. Got the toilet. Actually pretty spacious. For the boys, we've got a urinal as well. You do note though, it's got a window. A couple of final points about the Shinkansen. There's no bar or cafe on board, but on the longer journeys there are attendants that come through with little food trolleys. So you can get coffee, snacks. I'm pretty sure you can get beers. Don't quote me on that. I'd say that's probably a tad nicer than the TGV. They do have free Wi-Fi, but much like the TGV, it's very spotty and very slow. One thing that I just completely forgot to mention with the TGV was luggage. You can take up to two suitcases on board, but they don't really check, and you kind of just have to store it in either like the luggage zones or above the seats. You can fit really big luggage up here. You can fit it. It can fit. So that one was a little bit different. I had to try some fast train content. I hope you all enjoyed it, but don't worry if you didn't. I'll be back with a plain video, like an aeroplane video, next time. In the meantime, check out flightformula.com for more fantastic content and tools. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. It's an omelette. You're probably thinking, oh, this is so picturesque and lovely. And well, it sort of is. But it also stinks like piss. It smells so bad.